All right, so another self-recording. So today is October 8th. Today's October 8th. It's Sunday, October 8th, 2023. I am in my hotel in Agora. This is the week Grandpa died. Grandpa died he passed away at what they're saying is 12:05 a.m. today. So 10 hours ago. It's been a long week. Yeah, it's been really healing. It's been really emotionally draining. It's been a great week that we've bonded with my siblings, with my grandma, with Jake. It was unexpected. Grandpa and I, in fact, last week I have a video. Lexi and I and the boys are just finishing up our trip in Del Mar. And it was Lexi who suggested we go and see my grandpa before he goes into his operation on Tuesday, Sunday that day. So we called my grandpa and we asked him, and he said, you know, I'd love for you to come over if it's not a hassle. And I remember being in the car. We're sitting in our driveway in Del Mar. We're about to leave. We have the boys packed up. We have the boys in the car. We've got Lexi and I are in the car, everyone. And Keisha says, hey, your boys aren't feeling well. They're kind of sick. I don't know if it's a good idea to go over and see Grandpa and to see your grandpa. So I called my grandpa and I called him and I said, hey, look, we're just about to leave Del Mar. I don't know if this is an issue or not, but our boys aren't feeling well. So we might, it's really your call. But if you think it's still appropriate, we'd love to come by. And my grandpa said, your boys mean everything to me. And I'm around daycare kids all day long, every day. And if I get sick from them, you know, I'm going to the best place to get help, which is the hospital in 2 days. So, I'd love to see him, but, you know, it's up to you. And so Lexi and I thought, you know, that settles it. We're heading over there. So we drove up to Thousand Oaks and we spent like 2-3 hours with Grandpa. I filmed a video of him and I, sent off to Nathan and teasing him on the barbecue ribs that I'm eating, and while he's eating like fish heads in the Philippines. And I'll probably tell this story a thousand times, but upon leaving, we took a couple of photos with my grandparents and the boys together, and then we loaded the boys back up into the car. We're next to that new retaining wall by the barbecue area, and I remember hugging my grandpa. And I grabbed his face like this and cradled it, and it was like this close to him. And I said, Grandpa, I love you. I love you. And he looked at me and he said, I love you too, buddy. And it was like the purest moment that I think I'd ever had with my grandpa. And it was like, we're good. Everything's okay. Everything's going to be okay. And we got in the car and we left. And 2 days later, he went into his operation and didn't come out. There's a lot that happened during that operation. I don't want to get into details about it. But that changed what happened this week for me. You know, I just gotten home from like a 10-day trip out of state, you know, at Del Mar. So I was hoping to like really hit the ground running Q4 and get this giddy up marketing campaign going and pay off all my cover debt and get to the point where I'm doing, you know, I'm earning 10 grand a month from AIPs, getting in the best shape of my life, being an ever-present, positive and empowering dad and husband. And 2 days into that Q4, we get that phone call saying that it didn't go well. Grandpa's not coming out of his coma. Something's wrong. We don't know what, but, you know, put your family affairs together and make a decision. So Tuesday, my mom came over to the house to watch the boys, and we had planned that beforehand anyways. Lexi and I had a big photo shoot for a friend of mine, and we were getting ready that day, and I dropped Leo off at school, and Lexi texted me and said, like, hey, look, I think something went terrible wrong with the operation. We don't know what's going on, but it doesn't look like Grandpa's gonna make it. And that's when everything kind of fell apart. My mom came over to our house. She was watching Dawson at the time. Tommy was asleep, and Leo was at school. I came home. Lexi and I are like halfway through getting ready for this like big wedding shoot that we had planned months in advance. And I basically had to call my buddy up and say, like, look, dude, I don't know what's going on, but I think my grandpa, who, helped raise me as a kid, who was like a second dad to me, I think he died in the middle of an operation, and we don't have all the details figured out, but I might have to fly out to California and figure some family stuff out. So he was really great, and he was basically like, dude, don't even worry about it. Like, we'll figure that out here. Focus on your family. So we canceled that, stayed with my mom. My mom and I booked us trips. My mom and I booked us a one-way flight out to California, where we'd meet my dad, who the previous night had driven 10 straight hours after being super sick and traveling like 30-something hours from Fiji. He was there. He was going to meet us there in California, pick us up at the airport, and bring us over to grandparents' place. And in the next couple of hours, we found out that Jeremy, Claire, and Lana could all come, and they were able to all jump on the same flight as us. And so Mom, me, Lana, Claire, and Jeremy all together got on a plane, flew from Provo to LAX. My dad picked us up, and the next 5 days is like the last 5 days have been like a blur. 4 days have been like a blur. We've been at this hotel for the last 4 days, but most of the time has been kind of collecting our things, doing our morning routines in the morning, and then going straight over to Grandma's house. And we'll spend 5-6 hours there, come back to the hotel, maybe hang out for an hour or two, and then go back over there for the evening. And it's kind of been that every single day. And so it's been really nice to spend time with my brother, spend time with Lana, spend time with Claire, spend time with my parents, spend time with my mom. Something that's nice is this hotel is like 5 miles away from the property. So I've been able to run there and back. And so it was fun because Lana's really into climbing right now. And she's really, really fit, really strong, healthy. So she and I actually ran to Grandma and Grandpa's property and back multiple times. And Claire joined us on one of the runs. And my mom joined us on one of the runs there and also on one of the runs back. So it was nice because it's like far enough away that it's a good stretch, but short enough away that it's doable. So we've been running back and forth from the hotel, and I've said it to my family, but like I didn't know what to expect from this week, but I certainly didn't think that it was going to be fun. And spending time with my siblings and my parents, like we have at the last 5 days, where there was no interaction, there was like no interruptions, no distractions. Everything was like put on hold just for this, and just being able to spend time with everyone like was so bonding in a way and so fun. We laughed so much. We had so much fun together. We got there were so many pockets where we had one-on-one time together. And it was not only like refreshing, but it helped me have a lot more peace with myself, knowing that like I am who I am, and the things that what I feel maybe I need to change or improve are like ingrained in my nature, because my siblings and my parents all have the same mannerisms, the same viewpoints, the same perspectives, and we express those in different ways, but they all boil down to like the same things. And it like brought me a lot of comfort to be like, I should be proud of who I am and be more authentic, rather than thinking that, I need to rein it back on things. And it's simple things like I talk too much. And it's true, I do. But I don't know, I've come to the conclusion that I'd rather be around people who are okay with me talking a lot, rather than having to always nip it in the bud, and taper it and pull it back. So it doesn't bother people. Anyhow, and so we all came out. I think all of us were pretty good with Grandpa. We all had made our peace. And so we really came out to support three people in particular: Grandma, Jake, and Nathan, who just left on a mission. And we were able to talk to Nathan on the phone for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. And I got to talk to him specifically for an hour, and then like another 30 minutes the next day. We all got to talk to him, just kind of tell him what's going on. We got to, connect with him, and that was really nice. And that helped me know that like he's in a good spot. He's probably in a better spot than most of us, like emotionally, with this whole thing. And I was worried that like this was all going to bother him so much that he'd come home from his mission. And one of the things he said was, he was like, I'm just worried most about my dad, Jake. And with good reason. Jake saw Nathan as like a support system for him. He helped him a lot physically, like around the property. He was a listening ear for Jake, and he was also a mediator between Jake and my grandpa Allen. And so now Jake doesn't have Nathan anymore as that help, as that listening ear. And now Grandpa passed away, and I think there was a lot of like unfinished issues between Grandpa and Jake. And they just kind of tolerated one another. I think they were on good terms, but there was still like a lot of stuff that like, we got to resolve. And Jake, he has this mindset of politics are bad, people are bad, doctors are bad. They're always trying to just screw you. And I'm not saying that he's not a part of that or is right, or a degree of that isn't right. But what it does is it like lays this foundation of allowing him to get even more bitter and dark. And so going into like this non-invasive routine procedure for Grandpa to remove the brain tumor to, help improve his eyesight, devolving into him dying from some freak accident is, I think, really difficult for Jake to process. And he sees it as as like the doctors did exactly what I thought they were going to do, which is kill him. And so I think that might harbor a lot of resentment and guilt and bitterness towards a lot of parties that I don't think really had anything to do with it. I think it was a freak accident, but I hope that doesn't send him to a dark place, and one that he, might take years to get out of or never gets out of. But yeah, I'm all cried out. So I've probably cried more in this last week than I have in the last 10 years combined. I'll have these moments of highs where I can feel Grandpa's presence. I reached into his snack drawer in his TV room, and he has these like macadamia nut chocolate clusters, and it's like his thing. We always grabbed them. We always snuck his treats because we loved them. And I went in to grab some snacks, and sure enough, he had the macadamia nut clusters in there, and I grabbed it, and I was twisting off the lid to grab some, and I heard his voice. And his voice was like, hey, you getting into my snacks again? And it wasn't a feeling of like sadness or remorse or guilt or anything like that. It was just more of like, honestly, it was more peaceful. Thinking like, oh, you're always going to be with me. Like, you're not gone. Maybe in body you are, but spiritually you're still here with me. And I actually feel more strongly connected to Grandpa now than I did when he was actually physically here. It's almost like his body was, in a way, like restricting him from being with me always. And now I feel like he is always with me. And I kind of like it. To be honest, I enjoy it. I feel like I'm always comforted. I feel like he's kind of always with me. It's kind of like I can talk. I feel like he's listening, and I can almost hear at times him responding. And I love that. So, anyways, this last week has been weird because I'm at peace with it, but then I'll break down crying. And I don't know why. I think oftentimes it's triggered because I see other people mourn. I see Grandma break down, and that breaks my heart. I see Jake get so angry, and that breaks my heart. And other times I'll be totally alone, and I'll start to cry like this. And anyhow, so this week's been just weird. It's been wild. And it's been so tiring, so exhausting, for no other reason than just I don't know how to cope or process with this amount of emotion. I'm just not used to this kind of emotion to this degree. And so it's really taxing on me. I assimilate it close to being on a mission. Like those days where I had like a spiritual high, I come back and I'm like, I didn't really do anything physically laborious, but I'm tired. I'm really tired. And that's what this week's been. So that's it. We spent a lot of time with Grandma on the property. Grandma seems really good. She seems at peace. She seems that over the last few days, everything has kind of fallen into place, and spent enough time with Grandpa that I think she's gotten multiple spiritual confirmations that he hasn't in pain. The things that she's doing are the right things to do. And she has her house in order. I don't know of anyone who probably has their house in order better than she does, which is nice. And so, yeah, we're probably leaving today. We're probably leaving tomorrow. Mom and I and Dad will drive back. Grandma might come with us, but we are going to drive back to, Utah, and she might come with us. But really, because he passed earlier today, I think they're just handling logistics, transporting his body over to the mortuary and getting his body cremated. And so it was like we all came in, and the same day we left, everything was like coming to a close. One of the things that we were worried about was once the oxygen tubes were taken out, he could continue breathing on his own, but we don't know for how long. And hospice is there really just to keep him comfortable until he dies, but they can't do anything to encourage or to expedite the process of his life. And so I'm not sure if they continued feeding him through intravenous, but they definitely had to have him breathe on his own. And so doctors were mentioning anywhere from 2 hours to 2 weeks he could stay alive. So it was like 2 days, I think, or day and a half that he was still alive before he passed. And so anyways, I don't know what to make of this week. And again, there's no organization or order to these self-recordings. It's just me just kind of getting it out. And I think it helps me to be able to just do this. I feel it can be beneficial in ways that, I'll only know about later on. And so my gut is telling me that even though this doesn't have order, doesn't have organization, it's not like what I do to improve, what could I improve this week or whatever, and it's just me talking, that it will evolve and transform into something that I look back on thinking, this was so worth it, and I'm glad I did it. So if there's anything that I learned, it's what Nathan told me that Grandpa told him weeks before he left on his mission. And it was, you're a Decker, and you can do anything through the Lord. I too am a Decker, and I can do anything through the Lord. So as much as that message from Grandpa was to Nathan, I feel it's also to me. I love my grandpa. I love my grandpa. I love my grandpa. I love him. I'm so lucky, so grateful that I got to spend so much time with him. And I'm grateful that I followed my instincts and I followed my gut and I followed suggestings and promptings from the Holy Ghost to go and see him, to call him weekly, to record his voice when we're on those calls, to take photos with him, to spend time with him, to just be with him, and to ask him questions. And who cares if he repeats the same story 1,000 times? I got to spend time with my grandpa. And I'm so proud of myself for that. So, that's my weekly recording.